So I feel like there's a lot to take away from Creed, and hopefully, even you don't have to live in a small town for that to, I think, hopefully impact you because there's people who are having these kind of issues at their own dining room table,
Yeah.
you know? And no matter whether you live in a city or a suburb or a small town or a coast or in the middle or whatever, these issues are everywhere, and how we engage and talk to each other is absolutely crucial. And I'm so grateful to the community of Creed that they allowed us to witness it and that we get the opportunity to share it through Creed USA and hopefully make people think about how they're engaging with their fellow humans.
Maybe the residents of Creature write a manual for Thanksgiving dinner.
Mhm. Oh my gosh.
Um,
Yeah.
in both for you, your takeaway about or anything you sort of learned from these people that you met,
Yeah.
that you know, philosophically sort of have differences of opinion on issues perhaps, but
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, my family immigrated to the US in the 70s and we landed in New York City, which was, not the welcoming, like melting pot that we had necessarily dreamed it would be at first. Even when like we moved into like genuinely like hostile spaces at times. And I think that at the time, I completely understand, especially in these big urban environments or big dense suburbs, like you need to find your safety. You need to find your people that will protect you. And so I think what I've learned from Creed is like what a small town can teach us about that, because I think in these bigger anonymous spaces where you feel threatened, where you really do feel unsafe, like finding community is so key to that. And so, when I was old enough to choose where I could live, I always like went to very diverse, very progressive communities because that's where I felt safe. But I think the downside to that is that you start like just kind of overprotecting yourself in a way, and you start never having difficult conversations. You start to all think alike. You
um,
start to get really emotional and have just fiery reactions to anybody who questions the way you think about things. What I really learned from a town like Creed is how key that is, how that person to person interaction is, because you will never really change someone's opinion by sending them an article or speaking
posting
about.
something on Instagram and saying everything
Yeah.
if they have one perspective or another. Not
It's
a
about like having hard conversations and seeing each other and agreeing not to disagree, but also like you see over time things do change. People soften and people move towards each other. And I think that's the key to like sustainable change.